We're here with Mr. Johnny Kelly. Johnny, thank you for taking the time to do this today. So, Johnny, welcome back to Louisiana. How long has it been since you've been here?
When we did the last batch of recording for Sun Don't Shine, I was here. So I guess I'm
very good.
Last year,
okay,
something like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem that long.
Good. It's nice and hot and humid.
It is now. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, Johnny, you went from being a mail carrier to being a touring drummer. Tell me a little bit about that. What made you want to take up drumming, and did you see it becoming what it's become?
I guess the most impactful thing was my dad bringing home Kiss Alive, and seeing the record and then hearing it and stuff, and like completely freaking out about it. And then a couple of years of being a Kiss fanatic, there was a guy that lived up the block from me, and he asked me if I wanted to learn how to play drums. And I was like, oh yeah, right, absolutely, Peter Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And so he taught me how to play a beat or whatever, and I didn't really pursue it. I had no means. There was no way my mother was going to let me have a drum set in the house.
It's too loud.
And even if I could have a drum set in the house, they couldn't afford to buy me one. So I was looking at a different path in life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was like 15, a friend of mine was telling me that his drummer quit his band. And I was like, my first question was, you playing a band? I was like, I had no idea. Yeah. This was a kid that we hung out with like every day. I had no idea that he played guitar. I had no idea that he was in a band. And I was like, I told him, I said, I could play drums a little bit. He's like, you can? I was like, yeah. And he dragged me to the studio like the next day. And there was a rehearsal studio literally around the corner from my house. I was like, there's a studio here? I literally had no idea. It was like right across the street from my dentist.
I'm expecting a practice garage or something. Not a studio.
No, there was this studio. There was this studio on Flatbush Avenue. And a lot of the bands that came from Brooklyn, we all started there. We all Life of Agony and Biohazard. I remember, Kenny and I being in the studio. We were in the room across from them, and I played in the band with Evan when we were kids, playing Iron Maiden, Judas Priest songs and stuff.
Nice.
And remember running into Evan, in the lobby of the hotel, and he's like, yeah, I've got this new band, Bobby Hamble, was a neighborhood guy, and
okay.
And it's like, yeah, and Peter gave them their name. And Peter from Typo gave them their name. And so anyway, I started playing and practicing in there. I didn't need to own a drum set. I could go to the studio. If I had money, I could go to the studio and practice there. And that's what I did for years. And that's where I met Kenny. And there was a few rehearsal studios in Brooklyn. And so we would bounce around, going to different ones and stuff like that. But there was that one on Flatbush Avenue was the main one that everybody went to. And when I started doing that, I'm in high school at this point, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to pursue a career in music, and I had no idea how, or I had no means. I didn't even have a drum set until I was 19 years old.
Wow.
I wound up working in that studio. I got a job and I worked there.
It was meant to be.
And then my boss, who was, he had gotten a deal with Ludwig Drums. And so he got new kits in the studio, and then he gave me one of the old kits. And that was my first kit. And I used that kit. I did my first 2 tours with Typo with that kit.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, it wasn't very good, but it was all I had, and I couldn't afford anything. And
yeah, I understand that equipment is not cheap.
Yeah, and it's especially when you don't have any money.
Yeah, it's important too.
And you got 2 nickels to scratch together. It's really tough to get gear.
Yeah. Before joining Typo, you were actually a tech for the band. When Sal left, you reached out to Kenny about opening How did all that lead?
Yeah,
to
that's
become
that's
a-
that's that's
is that
kind of
right?
that's the gist of it. Yeah, I didn't work for the band a lot. It wasn't
Okay.
like I was like like a steady tech or anything. Like there was a couple of shows on the first record. They toured in the States with Biohazard and the Exploited, and after I think they were only out for like 2 weeks, and Peter went home, and so there was another guy who did that. But at the end of that Exploited tour, there was one show in Hollywood, and they really wanted the band to play the show in Hollywood, so they flew Peter to California, and the rest of us got in a van and drove to California for one show.
Okay.
And they hired me to drive. I was a better driver than I was a drum tech. And there was like one show in Atlanta that they played to try to save. They were part of a show to try to save a radio station. And I think it was like they just came in and just shot a whole bunch of bullets in the boat and sunk it even faster. And then there was like maybe like one or two like local shows, like shows in New York and stuff that I worked. I think there was a show in Staten Island they played, and I worked for them that night. But it wasn't a lot of shows, and it was mainly for driving.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked for the band.
Okay.
And then when Sal left the band, like we were all friends. We're all friends. Literally, we all come from the same like neighborhood. Like we could all, walk to each other's houses where we lived.
Yeah.
And like the minute I heard Sal left the band, I had like called Kenny and I was like, "Hey, what happened?" Or like, whatever. And then I remember, I think I called Peter and Josh too. And it's just like, because at the time, like, when Sal left the band, nobody really knew what was going to happen because the band really wasn't anything. It was just a local band.
Okay. All right.
It was just a local band. They happened to have a record deal with this tiny label in Holland. And, at that point, like, Peter was insistent he wasn't going to tour. So Bloody Kisses had come out and they were just sitting on it. They didn't really do anything. So anyway, so Sal leaves, he goes and joins Life of Agony. And I call the guys and I'm like, hey, if you guys, are going to keep going, like, it's like you didn't.
Correct. Yeah. This can't stop. Yeah.
Like if you guys keep going, I want to come and audition.
Yes. Yeah.
And then whatever, like, whatever. A couple of weeks later, they decided that they were going to keep the band going, and they had auditions, and then Kenny and I, because we were friends, like best friends, me and Kenny were going to the studio to help me practice to have a better audition.
Okay.
So when I walked in, I had a really good audition because I knew all the cues. I was all prepared and stuff. And I had the best audition, I guess, and I got the gig. And then, went back to work the next morning. That was it. It was like, oh, I'm in typo, and then, which was cool because it was like at the time they were like my favorite band. So it was cool in the sense that I was like, I just joined my favorite band,
And at that time, they didn't really have a genre.
No, nobody knew who they were. Nobody.
Yeah.
The minute you left like New York, maybe like they would play New Jersey a little bit, like Connecticut. But once you left that radius, there was like they were on the who gives a fuck list.
Was it the 9 Inch Nails tour that y'all had trouble getting the crowd to?
Oh, they hated us.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that must have been
that was like
happened. So
that was like the second tour that we did.
Okay.
Like we went out and we did clubs. We did like a 6-week tour. And we came home and we just didn't think anything of it. Like, oh, whatever. I guess, I went back to work. I was, and we got a call about going out with 9 Inch Nails. Like they had, it was just a short run of dates. It was only like 2 weeks on the West Coast. And they, Downward Spiral had just come out. So they were playing like small rooms. It just like, it hadn't exploded yet. The record literally had just come out.
Okay.
And the band, I forget what band it was, but the band that was supposed to be the support act broke up like 5 days before the tour started.
That's scary.
So then Trent was, apparently Trent like, like typo and like see if they're available.
Mm-hmm.
And we jumped in a minivan and a little cube truck and drove from New York to Seattle. And we got there for loading.
Yeah.
And then so we did that, and that trip was tough because the band wasn't known. You can't even say well known. The band wasn't known.
Okay. Yeah.
And because they were such intimate shows, they were like multiple nights at like the Moore Theater and the Warfield and I forget what they called it in Hollywood, the Palace.
Okay.
So they were like these relatively small places, and they're very intimate. So you had like the most dedicated Nine Inch Nails fans, and it didn't matter who was opening up; they were going to hate the band. And we didn't even get a reaction. It wasn't even like we were getting boos or anything.
Just no reaction.
Literally nothing.
You didn't just get.
We play and we hear crickets.
Oh God.
And that was it. And then like my job at the time, because like we only had like 2 kids helping us out. My job was to go set on the merch every night,
Okay.
which was really easy because it was like you sold 1 shirt tonight, and then there were nights we didn't sell any shirts, so we just collect the merch and just put it back in the van, put it back in the truck, and say, all right, thanks, easy accounting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was tough, and we went back, we went home, we were like with our tail between our legs and stuff. But it was really defeating.
Well, so we can move a little forward, I guess. You are affiliated and have been affiliated with many projects. If you don't mind, would you kind of go down the list just for people that may not know who Johnny Kelly has been affiliated? So
I guess the biggest one outside of Typo would be playing with Danzig.
Okay.
Like just about 20 years.
That's great.
It's great. I still stay in touch with Glenn, and Steve Singh is like one of my best friends, and for a while it was kind of cool because like when Typo and Danzig were both active and I was playing in both. 1 year Typo would be busy or whatever doing something, and then Typo would be off, and then Danzig would start working, and I'd be like, all right, I'm going out with Danzig, and then Danzig would finish, and I go back to Typo, and it was like flip flopping every year.
Yeah.
And there was only a couple of tours where they were both happening simultaneously, and then of course I had a Typo was where my loyalty is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
your first project.
Yeah. And but yeah, so I haven't been able to do any shows with Glenn since like the pandemic. He doesn't really play that much, and he's got a trip coming up next month, and it just kind of a couple of gigs just didn't line up, and I couldn't do that. I really wanted to do that trip.
Mm-hmm.
I miss the guys. Like I said, I haven't played with them since the pandemic, and we sit there like we send memes to each other all day long.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm playing with Quiet Riot. I've been doing this for 7 years.
Okay.
The years are starting to add up.
They are flying.
And what else? I guess like the other
Patriarchs in Black today.
Patriarchs in Black is always putting out records. We've done we have another record coming out in January.
That's a 6 month.
It's already done. Yeah,
it's a 6 month.
Yeah, like 6 months, 6 records in 5 years or something like that. And then covers records on top of that. It's cool. It's cool in the sense that it's not your, I guess, like traditional, like whatever band outfit or whatever. It's kind of like when Dan approached me about doing it, about getting together and working on music or whatever. I was like, I can't commit to playing in another band because at the time I had my plate full. I was playing in a lot of bands, involved in a lot of things. I was like, but if you want to record and do something like that, I said I'm totally down for it. And that's what it became. And then he had asked me, it's like, who would you want to get to sing, or who's going to be the bass player? Because Dan plays guitar, I play drums, so we got those 2 positions. And I had suggested to him, I was like, why are we settling on one? I was like, it's not really a band, it's a project. I was like, let's just ask people. So you have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people. You could just start asking a bunch of people, hey, you want to play on this song? And that's what it became. And it became like this stable. There's, I think Dan had said there's like up to 20 people involved in it.
Oh wow! Okay. Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool, though.
So the scheduling can be a little chaotic, and getting tracks from different people, and keeping the accounting of everything. I guess that could be a little nerve-wracking, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because like I know for me, I like playing and playing with different people, and, doing things. I try not to do the same thing in anything that I'm involved in. Something that, there'll always be that certain DNA with what I do.
Yes.
But I'd like it to be a little bit different. It's something, a little bit of variety.
A lot of these projects are very different.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
And with that, getting the opportunity to play with all these different people, they're bringing all kinds of different things into it. So it's fun in that sense. And then what do we got? We got Silvertomb.
Today we have Silvertomb, and you have Sun Don't Shine. And you're back with Kenny with both projects, right? So we got the tiny vinyl that is pretty cool. Yeah, look, I want to hold that thing up. Yeah. Get your tiny vinyl today.
Tiny vinyl.
And then the Sun Don't Shine, From Birth to Death CD. They have the vinyls also that you can find on Corpse Paint Records. So I will put the link in the description. Make sure you go to Corpse Paint Records. And
it's so tiny I can't read it.
It's hey, I'm at that age. I need
the words are so small.
They are, but it's adorable. So we have Sun Don't Shine, and that's with you're back with Kenny with that.
Yeah, this was all put together by Drew. Drew, Kenny and I met Drew. Drew was out working with Danzig. He was doing merchandise for Danzig, and so we all became best friends and stuff. And then Drew came and worked with Typo Negative, and a lot of times, we'd be sitting on the bus, whatever, drinking, whatever. And at the end of the night, and Drew was always like, "I want to get you guys in a room with Kirk and Todd from Crowbar." And we're like, okay. And so then he made it happen. And, whatever, years later, this is years later.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning, he's like, I'm starting my own label. And I want you guys to make a record. And so like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And he flew us down to Florida. He brought everybody to Florida. And I was there literally for a few hours. I was doing stuff. I had choir rights coming up. And he picked me up from the airport, drove me to the studio. So if you see any kind of promo pictures or whatever, any kind of pictures from us working.
Oh, yeah,
you see the suitcase right next to the kit.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take a look again.
Yeah, there's a suitcase. You'll see it in a couple of the pictures. There's a suitcase. Because I literally came from the airport to the studio. And the next morning, that was when we were working the song out in the rehearsal studio. The next morning, we went to the recording studio, tracked the drums, and then I flew up. I was gone. I don't remember where I was going, but I had to be somewhere else.
Okay.
And the guys finished the song, and that was "Dreams Only Die with the Sun." It was the first song, and it was the first thing that we did together.
Yep.
And everybody was really happy with the way the song turned out, and it was a lot of fun, hanging out with the guys, working in that environment. Like Kenny and I have been friends with Kirk and Todd for years. I met Kirk when I first joined Typo.
Okay,
so
yeah.
We've been friends.
Yeah.
So there's always been a lot.
Great guy. Yeah.
Always been a lot of fun hanging out, but really wasn't sure what to expect. Getting in a room together and working.
That's that Southern Slim sound.
There is.
Yeah.
But we really weren't sure how we were gonna work
You just put it in.
in that environment. It's one thing be friends and drinking buddies and stuff like that. But then it's a totally different thing now when you start working on music. You're trying to come up with parts, and
Of course.
and we all got along really well. Everybody had a blast. And it was a lot of fun. And so then Drew was like, "We're gonna make a whole record or something." And he was like, "We're gonna do more of this." So then we did everything in New Orleans, which was awesome. And we were there for about a week. Yeah, about a week. And then every morning we would go to the studio and then we would write a song. And then later in the afternoon when we'd have some kind of structure for what the song was going to be. And then we would track the drums.
Okay.
And then we'd come back the next day and do the whole process. So we were averaging like a song a day, which was cool. It was fun. And it was a test on seeing what you can do spontaneously. Like what can you come up with on the spot?
It's impressive. It's a great
album. Ready, go.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I mean, the drum tracks aren't that spectacular or anything. They're very simple, very meat and potatoes, but it not really having like the vision to see what the song really could be. We just leave a lot of space for other things. It's like, oh, maybe they put something here, put something there, whatever. I'll just stay in my lane and keep it really simple and basic, and then they can build around it.
Okay.
And that was my whole approach to it, because you only have a day to work on the song, so you really don't know what it's going to sound like. I had no idea. Kenny would have like a very basic, like melody line for the vocals or something like that, and a riff or something. And so you would just take that and build on that, and what I may think would be the best thing there. So, I could hear this here, or whatever. It may not be what they're thinking. So I just kept everything really simple.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it came out great. That's a great album.
We did the same thing again. We did that a couple of times. We go to New Orleans, and we'd stay at like an Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just going to the studio every day. Go to the studio, and then we go out to dinner.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite part.
Exactly. A lot of good.
It's like, what fried thing am I going to eat today?
Yes.
And it was my favorite part.
I was born and raised here, and there's still a lot of seafood I have not tried.
Man,
So.
I got here last night. There's a little restaurant right outside the hotel. Got Crowbar oysters and gumbo.
Oh, nice. Right.
I mean, which is very, I guess, like very like touristy things to do.
That's okay. You got real gumbo here, yeah. Yes. So you have been around pre-internet and now with the internet. How would you say life has changed in the, with when it comes to writing, when it comes to anything? Is it easier now? Like,
there are things for sure that technology has made things a lot simpler. You can work remotely. You can do tracks, and some of the stuff. I mean, it's so much easier. I can do something while I'm sitting on my couch.
So it's me. Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah, it was a lot harder. There was the advent of like digital recording. Going from analog tape to digital. Analog tape, you had to be in the studio. Like, what kids had, 8-track recorders.
Yeah.
Or like, some that, like 16-track machines in their basement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you had to do that, and you're limited to, what that studio was available, what was available to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, now you could do stuff literally just sitting on your couch, and you can exchange. I send drum tracks through emails.
Like that.
Yeah. That's it. It's that simple. And the quality of it has improved so much, because like with Type O, we did a lot of stuff. Well, a couple of records we did, the few records up until the last one, we did, everything was all MIDI drums. So I was like, working with samplers, playing the stuff on keyboards and stuff. And we would have to, it was like a whole like network of gear just to get those drum sounds. And now all of there's so much in my laptop that sounds better.
Yeah, I get it.
and it's easier to do. Like I would work on those typo records. I have to go to Josh's house. Josh would have to spend hours, configuring all this stuff to get it to sound the way that it did.
Yeah.
And I would just look at it. I was like, "How did you do all this?" He's like, "He goes, don't even bother." He goes, "It's too complicated to even explain it." And he was just like, "Well, here's the song. Like, go to work." That was it. But like everything that was involved with getting it, to get that end result, I have no idea. But I know it was very complicated and elaborate.
Yeah.
And now it's I can buy a program, for whatever, $100. I get Easy Drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Easy Drummer. I buy a couple of titles, and I have killer snare sounds, toms, kicks, and that to me changed a lot. And then the utilizing the internet, because it's when typo was active, we were doing stuff like that. The internet was around.
Okay.
But a lot of that stuff, a lot of digital stuff was like, it was more like everything was in house. So you'd have to buy something, they'd send you a CD, and you weren't like exchanging tracks, through emails.
Okay.
Like making WAV files, and a lot of it has gotten incredibly easier in that sense.
That's good.
And then so now I can work with people all over the country, I guess all over the world. And
multiple projects as you have.
Do a drum track and then email it to a producer or engineer or whoever, a guitar player.
It's quicker than a flight.
Yeah. Now I've just gotten turned on to it. I know it's been around a little while, but stem separation. So you could take a song and you could like separate the drums, all the instruments on it. And I just did that with a Rod Stewart song. A friend of mine's doing a Rod Stewart cover record, and I was like, my dad was a huge Rod Stewart fan. I was like, you gotta let me play on a song, and he did. And I was like, if you have more, I'll do more. And so he sent me another song, and that song lined up on a grid. It lined up to a metronome.
Mm-hmm.
So just put it in. I use Logic Pro when I work at home.
Okay.
So I put into Logic Pro, separated the stems, took the drums out, and put my drums into it. And I sent it to him. I was like, what do you think? And I was like so impressed with that.
Yes. I'm jamming at home by myself. I've done that.
Drum karaoke.
Yes. I'll put a cover in, take out the drums, put myself in, and I'm not as good as I thought I was.
I was like, wow, it's like, and like you could do all of this, like just sitting in your living room.
Yeah. Sure.
But a lot of that stuff, I'm usually like a year or two behind. Like when it becomes so obvious where it's like you have to use this now, then I'm like, I think I'm gonna try that.
I'm bad at that too. You're like, Laurie, you gotta learn. Okay, well let's learn it.
Like what is it? Like Chat GPT.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know it exists.
I mean, it's like
I know everybody uses it.
Yeah. For information, it's real good.
Yeah, I don't know how to use it yet.
Also, if you need help, you know how to reach me.
Yeah.
So being that you've been around so many decades, 3 roughly, the music industry?
It's been a long time. I was trying not to count so much.
Would you say, I'm giving you credit, let's do. How hard would you say, or is it hard getting fans to accept new projects that you're in versus when they've learned to love you through like typo, and then you have other projects that are not the same, as that?
The one thing that I've seen is that anything that I do gets measured up against that. So
that's what I figured.
So we'll release singles. Oh, but it's not typo.
Yes, I see that on the internet.
You're right. It's not typo. It's something different. And Peter's not singing on it. Well, Peter's not singing on anything.
Yeah. That can't happen.
Yeah,
it's like
it's not going to happen.
It's like people talking about Pantera, Vinny and Don's not there.
And it's a double-edged sword. Because of everything that happened with typo, it opened the doors to be able to do other things. it gave me a career.
Yeah, definitely.
And but yeah, everything does get measured up to that. And like even like like when we came out with the Seventh Void record, they're like, oh, it doesn't sound like Typo at all. And it's like, well, Typo at the time was still an active band.
Okay.
And my whole viewpoint was, why would I play in another band that sounds like Typo when I'm already in Typo?
Exactly.
Like, play a lot of Typo a lot.
Yeah.
Why would I get to another project, another situation or something like that for something that sounds like Typo? I'm already in the real thing.
Right.
It's like these are other things that I'm into, the things that I was interested in that I want to do. And,
exactly.
And it's just those are like, different outlets of stuff. And now that Typo's gone, now I'm just doing other things.
Correct.
But you're always everything's always measured up against that, and they're like, oh, like there's always the comments,
Yes, of course.
And that's what with anything, and it's I don't think it's necessarily haters, like they miss the band too.
But it's not like there's an option to get y'all back.
Yeah,
there's not even an option.
Yeah, we're holding out on purpose.
We appreciate the love. We miss it too, but it just can't happen. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And so, like with anything, with anyone, with your family, or something ends, and you either you move on to something else.
Yes. Yeah.
And even when Peter died, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen to me, as a player, or the band was finished. Obviously, the band's over, and it was like, well, what am I going to do next? I have no idea. Is that going to be it? And I was like, well, I said, I played drums before I joined Typo.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't feel, obligated to end things just because, my buddy passed away.
Correct.
And I said, I was like, am I supposed to get in a casket and get buried too? Or I was like, no, just.
He wants you to go on.
It's what I do.
Keep doing your thing. Yeah.
And, that got tested quick for me too, because I had not long after Peter passed away, there was a couple of shows with Danzig coming up, and there was some kind of complication because Peter passed away in Pennsylvania, but he was buried in New York, and there was some kind of issue with the way Pennsylvania does things when somebody passes away. Like preparing them, like in a funeral home, like that kind of stuff. And there was something where it held up. New York wouldn't let him in, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So the family had to do something else or whatever. So anyway, his service was like 2 weeks after he passed away.
That's long.
And so then, like when Peter first passed away, Glenn had reached out to me. He's like, "Look, if you want to cancel the show, whatever, it's totally fine." I was like, it's a couple of weeks away. I was like, it should be okay. I was like, don't cancel it, whatever, it'll be fine. And then I literally went from the funeral home to the airport.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
And then because at that point it had gotten so close. Now it was now you couldn't cancel the show now.
Yeah, of course.
When you had a couple of weeks, you can get away with it, and it wouldn't be that much of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do it like the day before.
Yeah.
And so when I went and did the show, and I was nervous, there was a lot going on, and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about when I played. And when we started the show, and I started playing or whatever, and I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
This is me.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing since.
Well, and I'm glad you are because you're great.
I'm glad I am.
I just want to say that. Yeah, you kick ass. So yeah. It's been a few more. So when it comes to Quiet Riot, Frankie became ill sadly, and you did get his basic approval, pretty much, what he would be okay with you coming in. Am I correct?
A lot of that, Alex facilitated a lot of that. Yeah.
Come on, yeah, sure.
What happened was, this was 2019, spring of 2019. I got a phone call from Frankie's wife, Regina, and she said, "Hey, you know anyone in Texas who can help Frankie with set up his equipment, who knows drums?" I said, "Yeah, Johnny Kelly, my drummer in Hookers and Blow, because we were playing in Hookers and Blow together." And this is Monday. The show was Saturday. So she says, "Well, Frankie might need some help." That's all she said. I said, "Okay." I called Johnny, and he goes, "Yeah, I can make it. I can make it out." And then Tuesday, he goes, "You think Johnny could maybe play a song or two?" I said, "Okay." Call Johnny. By Thursday, it was, "Hey, can Johnny play the set? Frankie's not coming at all." So Johnny had literally 36 hours to learn the set, and get there just in time for, we didn't get a sound check, we had a line check. And played all the songs, it's on YouTube, all the songs were the first time ever playing with Johnny. And I didn't tell the other guys in the band. Only me, Frankie, and his wife knew. That was it. So, it was a surprise to everybody, including the audience. So,
And if you don't mind, Alex, can you say who you are first?
I'm Alex from Quiet Riot and other bands.
Other bands. Adler's Appetite. Has there ever been a song that you thought would be impossible to play live, and then when you went to do it, it just became second nature? It was just like, I got this.
All of them, like, it's challenges in all of them. You know, just to play them well. It's just, I'm like, you know, I'm joking, but it really is. Like, to me, that's the challenge of like being consistent and, you know, trying to get your meter right, you know, get the right feel for the song, and a lot of stuff has been like, you know, like playing other people's stuff, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, you know, playing in Danzig for years and trying to have respect for what was there.
Yeah.
Not just walking in and saying, "Well, you know, it's my gig now. This is how we're going to play it."
Yeah.
You know, there are things in certain things in songs, at least the way that I see it, even with the drums, there's certain things. It's like hooks, like say there's like, you know, whatever, a hook in a melody line or a chorus or something. There are certain things in drums that I refer to them as hooks, and some of that stuff I'm always like, that has to be there.
Okay.
So sometimes there'll be something like that I have to work out or whatever.
Yeah.
Really, like, playing Quiet Riot has been the biggest challenge.
I was gonna say you've changed it with, you know, you didn't keep the same.
Yeah, I mean, well, playing in Danzig, you had, for me to play that stuff, playing to, you know, 3 different drummers that were in the band, Chuck, Joey, and Bevan, and they each had their own style of playing.
Yeah.
And you know, trying to have respect for everything that they did. You know, the same thing playing Quiet Riot, having respect for everything that Frankie did, and that same thing even with Typo, with those first 2 records. There were certain things on those songs that were, you know, to me they were hooks and they have to be there. You know, the Typo stuff was, I guess, became more second nature because I had played with them for so long, but you try to do something where you have respect for it, and, you know, at the same time you're kind of making it your own instead of just, you know, like not just being like a cover band drummer or something like that. You know, but there, like I said, you know, there's certain things that have to be there, and then there's certain things, whatever. Well, I'll take a little bit of creative licensing, or not really going too far off of it, because with all the bands that I played in, it seems like, you know, like the template for the type of drumming that's involved is very similar.
Yeah.
And
You've been a hired gun also along with being a.
Sometimes, yeah, it's been a couple of things, but it's also having, like, I've always liked doing different things to try to, like, broaden my palette of what I'm doing and how I play, and, try to learn and evolve from that. And a lot of it to me, like, like the DNA of everything I do, it's all in classic rock.
Yes.
It's all Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, all of it, and AC/DC.
Yes.
That's the presentation. Those are the common denominators in everything that I do. And then, I've been influenced by a lot of people along the way, a lot of people that we toured with and stuff, and then watch them every night, watch them play and be like, wow, that's really cool. I gotta learn how to do that, and then
that was my next question.
And all of that eventually, gets thrown in there, and you try to come up with a way of, like, making it your own thing.
Yeah. Are there any drummers that, like, influenced you, or, like, that you really?
There's tons.
Yeah.
Tons. I mean, of course, like, the primary ones are Bill Ward and John Bonham. Those are the main two. And then even, like, thinking like as a kid growing up, like Peter Criss made me want to play drums. And then, like, now when I've covered, like, Kiss songs and Patriarchs, those are the hardest songs to cover.
Yeah. Have you ever put the makeup on too?
Yes, every Halloween. I did that for years. Yeah.
Awesome.
There's YouTube video of me at a Kiss show in 1979 in makeup. It was in the documentary. Remember they did the multi-part documentary on AMC?
No, but I'm gonna have to. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look.
It's in there.
Look it up.
Yep. 11-year-old Johnny is
that is
there.
awesome.
Yeah, me and my brother. Yeah, we went to go. My father took my brother and I to go see Kiss at Madison Square Garden.
You never forget that.
Oh yeah, it was my first concert.
Yeah.
So Danny and I, we go there and we're in the makeup and stuff like that. And my dad, like, we're walking towards the garden, and there was, like, a whole bunch of people on a corner and stuff, and there was a camera crew. It was New York, Kiss, right in the height of the Kiss phenomenon in New York City, and there was, like, a whole bunch of people around, so the news was covering the show locally.
Okay.
And so we were walking up, and they were like, "Get the kids on TV, get the kids," like, all I guess they were all teenagers, whatever. "Get the kids on TV." So it's me and my brother and Kiss. We're Ace and Peter, and it's on there, and you can hear me in my really thick Brooklyn accent. "Kiss is number one."
The hottest band in the world. Yeah. One more question, and we can wrap this up. Give me one album. I know this is gonna be hard, but one album everybody should own.
One album that everybody should own: Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin.
Okay. I always go at the end. I say 1988 Queen's Rock Operation Mindcrime.
That's not mine.
Oh, I mean by anybody. You can get anybody. So yeah.
No, I would have gone with that. I would have gone with Sgt. Pepper's, and I would have gone with Sticky Fingers from the Stones.
Okay, very good. Johnny, thank you so much for taking this time out.
Thank you. This was fun.
And he's playing with Quiet Riot tonight, so we'll have a
get your Sunday Shine record.
Yep.
Go check out vinyl.
Yes, Sunday Shine. And
I was just saying the last thing. Right, we were talking about we have a thread going and stuff like that, and I saw something came across my feed about Muscle Shoals studio.
Okay.
I was like, we should do the next recordings there.
Okay, yeah.
Trying to push for that. Really, really well in New Orleans. Now I want to do something else.
Yeah.
And I think it was talking about the Stones recorded some Sticky Fingers at Muscle Shoals.
Okay.
And it's like, wow, this place has a lot of history or whatever. So probably get in there it'd be cool to get in there for a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Johnny, and